I used to like frogs until I saw a frog eat a bird here in my pond. I was so mad. It grabbed the little bird and took it right down to the bottom. I had no idea that frogs ate birds. So I'm going to tell my frog gigging story. First, I want you to know it got up to 70 degrees today. And that's unusual. It was 40-something degrees, and I had both fireplaces. We have wood stove inserts in both fireplaces, and I kept them blazing because it was cold all day. But there's a crisp in the air right now for sure. But I want you to count how many fish are there. Less than 20 big fish. All those babies, those fingerling, fry, those were hatched this spring. So hopefully this will replenish my pond. But we're going to be pulling the pond apart and revamping it and put a sand filter in. Because I was going to put koi in here, because I used to have koi. I'm going to redo the water feature, waterfall. Oh, those pumps are crazy. Anyway, we love going to Sauvie Island. Look on Sauvie Island. We like camping at Reeder Beach. We park 10 feet away from the Columbia River, and we watch the huge cargo ships go by. That is so much fun. And there's a big lake. I forget, what's the lake? It's about 10 miles long on Sauvie Island. I might be exaggerating too much. But anyway, from the end of our motorhome, out the side door, we can see Mount Rainier, Mount St. Helens, Mount Adams, and Mount Hood. And from the Sauvie Island bridge, you can see Mount Jefferson over in Bend area. We can almost see the tip of Jefferson here in our backyard, but it's you have to know what you're looking for. Anyway, we went, took our kids. We put them all in the truck, our grandkids. And must have had 10 kids in the back of the truck and in the cab, and my sister and cousins and everything. And we went to the lake to go look, and there was a woman gigging frogs. She had a whole cooler full of frogs. And, well, she was using a fishing pole. She wasn't gigging them. Gigging them, you take a stick and you grab them. I used to watch my grandpa do that in Fort Myers, Florida. And I used to get crawdads, too. But anyway, we were looking at this fish. These fish were huge, and she said she eats them. That's her favorite meal. She says they are delicious. And she showed me how big those frogs were. I couldn't believe it. There was like 3 times the size of a man's hands. And so we asked her if we could have one of her frogs. And so she said, sure. So we put it in a little thing. We're going to take it back to the motorhome and show other people the big frogs there at the lake, there on Sauvie Island. And we get about halfway back to the RV. My grandson opened the lid to the top of the box that we had this big frog in. And it jumped out. And I tell you, there was screaming and hollering. You think it would have been a snake. That frog jumped out of the box and was jumping, flopping all over the cab of our Tundra. Everybody was screaming bloody murder. You would have think it was a dangerous snake, but it's not, just a great big bullfrog. And I'm not kidding you, it was bigger than the size of my hands. I'm going to have to find a picture of that. But that lady was just, she says she goes frog gigging on Sauvie Island all the time. Go look up Sauvie Island in Oregon on the Columbia River and look at Reeder Beach RV Park. We love to park our motorhome there. It's kind of a poor man's camping spot, but we love it because it's just down-home people that we like. We don't like those snots and those big, You know, $400,000 motorhomes. Heck, our motorhome's only worth $5. We stole it from a homeless person. Anyway, look at this beautiful. It was almost, yeah, it was 70 degrees today. I want you to see these trees. I'll tell you one more joke about the frog. Did you hear about the moron scientist that took a frog and he wanted to do a scientific project? So he got all his lab coat out, put a great big measuring tapes on the table and video equipment and everything. I even think he had a GoPro. And he'd say, GoPro, start recording. And he'd say, frog, jump. And he'd slap the table. And that frog would jump 4 feet. And then the moron scientist said, frog jump 4 feet with 4 legs. Then the moron scientist got another. He thought, well, I want to know what would happen if that frog if I cut off one of his legs. How far would he jump with 3 legs? Hello there, Louie and Dolly. You need clean water. Look at that beautiful day. Anyway, so the moron scientist, he cut off that frog's front leg. He slammed his fist down on the table and he goes, frog, jump. And that frog jumped 3 feet. So the moron scientist wrote down, frog jump 3 feet with 3 legs. So he says, man, this is really going good. Look at that hummingbird up there. Anyway, so he cut off another leg off the frog. And he goes, frog, jump. Banged on the table. Frog hesitated a little bit. And he banged on the table again. Frog, jump. That frog jumped 2 feet, just with his 2 legs. So the morons wrote, oh, frog jumped 2 feet with 2 legs. So he says, well, I wonder what would happen if I cut off another leg. So he cut off another leg, and frog had 1 leg. So he got his recorder going, video. GoPro, start recording. And he goes, frog, jump. Frog didn't do anything. Frog, jump. The moron scientist kept yelling, frog, jump. And finally the frog jumped just 1 foot. So the moron scientist wrote, frog jumped 1 foot with 1 leg. So he says, what would happen if I cut off his last leg? So he cut off his last leg. So he, hey, Dr. Young, what you doing? Mad scientist down there. Dr. Wallace. My husband's related to William Wallace. His grandpa and his brother and his dad all named William Wallace. But anyway, so the moron scientist cut off that last leg, and he had his GoPro recording. He says, keep recording, GoPro. Frog, jump! And he slammed his fist against that table, and that frog refused to jump. He screamed again, frog, jump! Look at all these Japanese maples we have, and I ate them. That frog still wouldn't jump. And he's screaming at that frog, frog, jump! Frog, jump! And that moron scientist was getting pissed. He says, damn it! Right at the end of my project, the damn frog loses his hearing. Frog didn't jump any at all once I cut his legs off because he lost his hearing. And then there was the frog that needed to borrow $10. He went to the bank, and he had a thing for one of the bank tellers. Her name was Patty Black. So he went to the bank teller, and he says, I need a loan. Can I get a loan for for $10. She says, well, do you have any collateral? And he said, no, I don't have any collateral, Patty Black. And so he says, I need it. I have a hot date tonight and I need $10. She said, well, you're going to have to go get some collateral or something. So he says, well, will you talk to the bank manager? Okay, I'll ask him. So she went to the bank manager and she says, Mr. Frog wants to borrow $10, but he didn't have any collateral. She says, well, tell him to go get something, just anything to hold his collateral. So she told the frog to go home, get some collateral. So he came back and he had a little statue. He had a little frog statue. And he says, well, my mama gave me this, and can you hold that as collateral till I pay? And he says, well, I'm not sure if we can take that. Look at that sap on that tree. He says, well, would you ask the bank manager? Looks like icicles, but that's sap. So she took it to the bank manager and she says, well, he's got this little frog statue. And he's wanting to know if he could use that as collateral. The bank manager said, oh, Patty Black, that's a NIC NAC. Give the frog a loan. So Patty Black looked at the NIC NAC and gave the frog a bone. A loan. Anyway, that's my stupid frog joke.